You already know that I speak. My speech be on Mondays, and then Saturday is the day that I do my original work for the kingdom. So I'm going to speak a little bit about my experience that I had coming up and then a little breakthrough of me being an adult. Coming up, it was quite a struggle. You know, my parents didn't have much. We all came out of Gate City Projects. That's pretty much the reason why I named it the Kingdom of God's People's Church, because it's the king of the project city. And um, the reason why it was made like that, because I asked God what did he want me to do. My aunt left a group called Four Morning Doves, and what did he want me to do with that, since that was an inherited business for our family. So I decided to make it still Four Morning Doves and change it to the number 4 prayer line. So I made it a prayer line, and then also I got it as a church. So instead of it being just a choir that travel, it's a prayer line like I normally send you all scriptures in the morning, like 12 o'clock at night. And then I also do speaking to you all several times and several days on each day of the week. So I try to do a little much as bit as that. And then I do the ministry part of it. I do that on Saturday. So my part in church as a woman, I truly believe that God said a woman is supposed to be humble and quiet in the church, and that's what his word says. So sorry if I don't come to the front forth like you all expect. I know that you want to hear me, but you have to hear me according to when God tells me to let you all hear me. So from this point on, it'll only be Saturdays and Mondays, because today is for the males to do their part, because they're the head of the flock. That's why I named 2 men that was chairmen, and then myself that's a chairwoman. But I branched my business off of those. That way I'll be straight far as government wise. And coming up, we didn't have much to eat. We had struggled to get shoes, clothes. They had a pantry that my mom used to go to and work and get food from the pantry. Holy Rosary, some of you might know about that. Then we had to walk a mile backwards and forwards to school. And then also we, as the older we got, about 5th grade, mom had lost custody of us. She gave us to my grandparents, and we lived with them for a while. And then after we lived with them, my brothers and sisters went on to my aunt. She didn't want me. She told everybody that in court that I was trying to have sex with her husband. But I didn't want to fall into that trap. But whether she knew it or not, her husband was trying to get at me at that particular time, because her nieces or cousins, however you want to say, was there at the time that he was trying to do all of this. So throughout childhood, I've been raped 4 times, and also I've been dealing with a lot of things for as trying to keep myself focused in God. What made me become a doctorate in God, that's a little bit about my childhood. Then I went up to foster care, and I ended up in Gateway. Went to Gateway, they branched us out to go to regular school. But throughout me being backwards and forward in custody of DHR, it was quite a struggle for me. But I didn't let that get the best of me. I did the best I could as growing into being a woman, and I didn't let that stop me. God said, in order for you to get your doctorate, you have to grind for it. I said, well, Lord, I already been doing some work as what the eyes me. He said, it's not enough for me. And I was like, well, what is it else that I need to do? He said, work harder. So I worked harder. I had been working since I was 5 years old, up until I got like, my son he's 7 now, to like 25, 26. And that's when I decided, okay, Lord, it's time for me to chill out. He was like, good job. You did like I asked you, for as going out there, making sure you can make ends meet and continue to bring a profit into your home. But what really got me up until adulthood, The adulthood has been the most best time of my life. I just been telling myself, God, I'm just gonna rest in knowing that you are always there and you're always the key to my source, and knowing that you will never leave me nor forsake me. I never imagined in many of years that I would come from living in an apartment to moving to the projects like my mom them did, and bounce off of the projects less than a year and move into a two-story home. Who does that? Because once you move into the projects, you know you're going to spend at least a year or two or maybe more in there before you can even get where you're going. God said, no, I'm taking you in a new direction. I'm trying to open eyes in many directions. I said, well, Lord, I already been opening eyes some kind of way. He said, no, I'm showing the people this is what I really expect of them. If you want to give 100%, I need to know that you're going to rest in my arms at this particular time. Your work history, that's gone. I'm not worrying about that because the government has to go back and decide what they're going to do about that, because they did not pay you the correct amount that they were supposed to pay you, and they left off. Not also, I had 3 inheritance that was supposed to come in, and then 2 off of my children, and then 1 off myself. So that's why I tell a lot of people, check your work behind the government, because they lost paperwork from my great aunt to my granddad and his wife, all the way down to my work history, and then off of my children getting something off of me. That too hurt me so bad, like you couldn't even imagine keeping your head above water. And still he had me juggling all of this while I'm living in this house. So I said, God, what is it that I need to do at this particular time? He said, you do nothing. You do nothing. I said, well, I need to go up here and see what it is that they're trying to tell me. He said, if you feel like that's what you need to do to listen to me, then go ahead and do it. He said, you do nothing. So me being hard-headed, I went right on over there and see what it was that they was missing out on. Those people didn't even have nothing but 2 things in the system for me for his work. I was like, all these jobs I done had in my life and y'all ain't got nothing? Not even my inheritance money, none of this? I'm like, wait a minute, who, what, when? I said they need to put some new people in office because they're losing paperwork on folks, y'all. Y'all got to really check into these people. Like, I'm like looking like y'all looking at me for a word, but I'm like, it's only so much I can give and say to you, but I'm being honest, straightforward, and it just can't get no realer than that. Like, these people are really tripped out. I went from my rent people stealing from me to living in the dark because of something that was their fault, and everybody looking at me like, oh, she don't pay her bills and all this other stuff. I didn't even care nothing about all that. You know, because I'm the type of woman, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. You don't put no food, no nothing in my mouth. You don't put the clothes on my back, no shoes, no nothing, none of that. You don't comb my hair, none of this. So I'm not worrying about that part. So I got down to my neighbors trying to clip my power off. I'm like, what in the world? I don't even be around y'all people, but it's like, to the point God has really showed me and opened my eyes to a lot of things coming up. And this was one of the reasons why I wanted you all to choose my father as a leader for the United States, because I feel like he would be a great leader, and he has been through some things in his life as well. And me, as being his daughter, he had to leave me behind just to go and get what it is he needed for his family. But never did I know that my father would be gone so long, to the point that that side of me had got numb to knowing that my father wouldn't be in my life. And I'm like, God, I know this is not your plan. But he said, see how he's gone? This is how I'm gone, but I'm still here. He said he's in human form, I'm in spirit form. So you got to know and rest assured that we're already there. You just got to walk in it. I said, Father, well, what about me having a husband to support what it is that you're saying in the Bible where the woman needs to rely on that part of the bacon? He said, don't worry about that. When I graduated from high school, my husband came to me the summer of me being out of high school. We ain't been together but 2 weeks in the summer of me graduating from high school. This man came to me, and then we have been together a year. But later on down the years, we got married in about 2010, and I have been with him since the summer of me graduating from high school. Imagine what God can do in way more harder situations. I have been in the dark, without water, been without food to put in my mouth. Like, I ain't saying I missed a meal, but it might not be exactly what I wanted. But God has always been a provider in my life, and I never want to let anybody know to turn your back on God, because when it comes down to serving Jehovah Jireh, it is going to be a hard rock, because he said, I set my most high on a fortress, and knowing that he is going to supply all your needs from the crown of your head to the sole of your feet. When I tell y'all, Jehovah Jireh has always done that, and I have always been the type of woman, whenever I need, I go and get that from him, because I say, Father, you told me this, and he loved when you tell him what he said he's gonna do. That right there makes him want to do even more, and I know that for a fact. I told him, I said, Father, me and my husband need a car. We was living in Evergreen at the time. We needed a car. And so he said, okay, it's time for you to go and do your business. I said, what business? He said, the business that your aunt left for y'all, but she had someone else operating it until you got of age. I said, oh, that's what she did? He said, yes. Now you need to go to school. Get your master's in business from school. I went to Brown Mackey at this particular time. So when I got my master's in business there, I went on to filing my business. And then that's when I swooped up out of the enemy's hand, because at first I was letting the enemy run the business. Like, let them do what they've been doing, and I just approve of different things. But it didn't work out that way. So I had to forcefully take it from them. And I did not want to turn the family into that, because they have been in our family for multiple years. I mean, decades. And when it was time for me to reach out, when I really needed them the most, they wasn't there for me at all. And I couldn't believe that you were actually, as it was through me, that could have been my aunt, that they turned their back on after she didn't supply everything for you, including the business that you was operating on last year when I first had to take it from me. It's just like, it's so much that God has shown me that he can do in my life, and I never stop praising him. His name will always continue to be in my mouth, and knowing that he's God and God alone, that's more than life itself. Knowing that the Father has already supplied, he might not give you exactly what you want, but he's going to give you enough. He said in his word, you shall follow him all the days of your life. That means giving it all over to him. Letting them know that, Father, I rely on you and you alone. Knowing that there's nothing else on this earth that can compare to the love of you. But he also sent a trick in them. He said, how can you love me when you can't even love the ones that's in your face that you see on an everyday basis? So I said, Lord, where you going with that? He said, whatever it is, you need to fix it. I said, what it is I need to fix. And I thought about it. Once I came out of DHR custody, I wasn't close to my family like I was supposed to be. Because my mom, she was in my life, but she wasn't in my life. But it was like a side part of life that she was playing. And I couldn't understand that part that God was showing me. He said, go and fix it. So what I did was I went and I swooped up all my family that was dear to me that I missed out on many years of being in DHR custody. And I said, I love each and every one of y'all. And just because I was in their custody and y'all didn't go, don't never mean that I didn't stop loving y'all. And they was like, we know. We know you love us. Because each day that you go to work, when you get some in your pocket, you always break us off some. I was like, wait a minute, now what? My brothers and them was like, yeah. We can just go in your pockets and get your money out your pockets without you having no problem. I'm like, hold up. Who does that? They said, only God does that. And they looked at me like, you're the reason we still strive on for God, because we see so much power He placed in your hand and how much you love your Heavenly Father. They could not believe how many churches I had to bounce back and forth from that had mistreated me while I was giving them my all. And they like, you the biggest church going person for us we ever seen in our entire life. And you having to move from church to church, something is wrong with it. I said, well, y'all, the churches nowadays are not like they used to be when we was coming up, when we was going to Mount Moriah. That was our childhood church. But now that I done branch on to doing my own thing, Bishop is still proud of us. But his name Doctor. And so I said, I'm going to have to get a doctor's degree. And he told me, if you want that doctor's degree, I need to know that you want that. So what I did was I kept studying. And he had two people that he wanted me to focus in on with they sermons. And I brought my doctorate off of them. So it was Pastor Sher and Pastor Gray. I said, okay, these are two that you really want me to focus in. He said, yeah. Because they're not too older than you, but they're right on time by you. I said, yeah, they is quite young, probably ain't no later than the 40s or so. And he was like, yeah, and you already in your 30s. You're 30 years old, so before, and I wrote down the last church I was in physically by it, I wrote down that I wanted to be financially free. I wanted a new model car, and I wanted to be retired before I turned 30. And God has already placed retirement on my life, but I just can't pinch off of that until I turn 65. So they're having to see what it is that they need in voting. So because I placed a real ace card on them. Y'all know about Wiz and Spades out there. I know y'all know about that. So they trying to see. I really placed the ace card out there. And they said, what that ace card called? I said, the diamonds. I said, because I'm not going to settle for nothing less but a diamond. And so now they pop up with this voting to get church back into the schools, which I was the last generation that had church in school. And then I came to them as a minister in the school without them even paying attention. I swooped in up under that thing and started ministering to the church, and they was looking like, wow, she can really move. I'm talking about really make some moves that you would never imagine in many years that somebody can make. And then I throwed another card out there, ace of spades on them. So I came up. I said, all right, now I'm in here. And now they trying to figure out what is it that they need to do for as keeping the children going to school like they need to. Because, now The children are not like they used to be. They don't be wanting to go to school for real because they ain't got no for real stability in their life to make them do what they supposed to do. But that goes back to how the children are raised and what kind of home they're raised in. See, God said in his word that whatever you start in the ground, you shall reap. Not what you start in the ground, let it stay in the ground, unless you're being put in the ground. That's the only way dust shall stay dust. But he said when you sow your seeds into good ground, it's supposed to prosper and grow into whatever it is that you want it to grow into, according to what you put in. And then he said, I will bless you going out and then bless coming in. So you got to open that hand knowing that the Father will give you all that he asks of you. And you got to rest assured knowing that whatever it is that he asks, you must do that and do it at his time. And I be having to, one time ago, about a month or so ago, the lady said, why you just show clips and clips and clips? I said, let me tell you something. Coming up in school, you had to learn something off of something. What's the difference now? Besides speaking. That means you haven't been doing your homework. Because if you were doing your homework, you wouldn't have had to ask me a question like that. Because you had to learn from a parent and a grandparent and a great-grand and a great-grand if they was around at that time. So it's always going to be a cycle of learning. It's just about how you go about doing it. So before you open your mouth to ask someone a question, think before yourself and say, okay, they probably did this like this. So you need to be wise about what you speak out of here. Because God said, whatever you speak out of the tongue shall manifest in the atmosphere. And if it's not good, it's going to come back ugly to you. And if it's good, it will come back good to you, according to what you speak. So I'm really bold about what I say out of my mouth. And I'm going to let y'all know this before I close. Never expect me to do something outside of the word of God, because I've studied and I have shown myself to be approved in many men's eyesight. They might not be church going men, but they church going men in my eyesight, because they work 7 days a week, 8 days an hour, 90 days, 135 days a year. However that go, they work. And they make sure their families are taken care of. And I have seen them do this before my eyes. And you all be blessed. And we're going to start back with the ministry.